So in terms of yesterday's, was it yesterday's one? Yeah, where we did the face, no, we did the landscape yesterday. So I'm going to share my image of a potential landscape as well. This is my portrait, and it was an informal one that I didn't work on for a very long time, but can still be developed. I'm going to also share some examples with you on the page of what potential drawings and paintings can look like. So sometimes I'll share the ones that I made for the practice, and sometimes I'll share ones that I've worked on a little bit more in my own capacity. So this drawing actually inspired another painting that I did from a blind contour and a contour drawing, and then I'm going to share that one with you. Same with the landscape. So this is just the initial landscape that I made, and then I got really excited and I started painting another landscape. So then I'm going to also share with you the potential as a bit of inspiration of where it can go, showing you that the practices can then go into their own format and they don't have to be limited by it, and they can also inspire some other things. That's why working in your visual diary is so great, because they become references to other paintings. Okay, so let's jump in with the exercise today. Again, the visualization of the meditation is going to be crucial in this one. So do that practice, because it's going to help you to also then access what you want to do here. So you're going to start by creating symbols that represent the blocks that you have. So maybe you have a limiting belief around being an artist and not being financially sustainable. Think about the texture of that. Think about the color of that. Think about the shape of that. So to me, it's like a triangle that kind of gets stuck in my throat. In my body, when I worry about money, it's like this anxiety and the stuckness in my chest. And it's very dense and it's dark. So I'm using a purple color. And then you create that symbol, right? So you have your triangle. Then you think of a different block, and maybe it's a circle. I'm not going to go too deeply into all my blocks now, because I don't want to contaminate your thinking around this. So this one has the same color, but you can use a different color. So I'm going to actually layer it with green, and you create another symbol for a block. So you go on to do this within your page. Okay. So once you have a few symbols, so maybe I'm going to do a spiral as well, the spiral of negative thinking. Okay, so then I have a spiral, a triangle, and a circle, and you can think of the symbol can also be like literal things like an eye or a rock or whatever is obstructing your access to your creative self. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to use line to connect these to each other, seeing how they form this network of negative thoughts, this patterning, and they're all connected to each other because they're more or less generally connected to experiences that you had early in your life, like we spoke about with our creative ancestry. You can trace them back to specific happenings where that one belief thought and then formed, and then all these thoughts connected to it kind of built out until you are where you are now, struggling to make something. So you can imagine these connections to be straight lines, stippled lines, and think about how they influence your creative self and your life. So I'm just connecting them in any way that makes sense now. So I'm going to create more stipples, and maybe I need another one here just to show you. But draw, so this is where the quality of art therapy comes in, where when you really connect to this belief and this block, and you're drawing out the texture of it and the feel of it, you can release it so much easier. Okay. Because it gives the visual quality to what's sometimes pre-verbal. So then you'll have all of these blocks and connections. So it's kind of an abstract drawing. And then you're going to create flowy lines, and maybe they take the form of waves, of currents, of roots, but something organic that starts to form around these and flow through your drawing. And I'm not going to do a lot of this now, but this is the part of the exercise where you really get into flow state, and you just keep making lines, fleshing out this drawing in layers of form and currents. So you can let this flow over, you can let this flow around, you can cover the symbols entirely, they can start to take a specific shape. So I'm just working in drawing materials now, but of course when you go over into painting, maybe I should do that, and maybe even with a fan brush, you can start to add a really beautiful layered effect. Okay, so now we're getting into the currents. But if you turn your drawing tool on its side, or you just keep going, creating different kinds of lines, you can create this feeling of a current moving over it. And this will be informed by the meditation, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about as you've just visualized it before you started with your drawing practice. So then you make all these beautiful lines over your painting, over your drawing, around boulders, and you keep layering it. Then you can use, I'm going to use, because this is now what's in front of me, maybe I should use something else. I wanted to cut up this drawing that I have now, but I'm actually going to use something else. And you think of a symbol of freedom. So what would represent freedom to you? Immediately what comes up for me is feathers, you know, this idea of flying. And then out of an old drawing or out of a magazine page, I'm using a magazine page, you cut out this symbol that then goes on top of it, really connecting to that sense of freedom in your body, the feeling you had while you meditated and you moved around your boulders, around your blocks, and you cut out these shapes, this symbol. Okay, so this is going to take quite some time to do. Often I choose things that are very detailed to cut out, and then I'm like, damn it, I have a time limit. So I'm just going to do a little piece of this so that you can get an idea, and then I'm going to leave you to do the exercise on your own and really spend as much time as you want with all of the prompts. Okay, so I've started now cutting out this feather out of the magazine page, and then you're going to collage that over your drawing in between the lines and how it comes out. I've done one of this before, one of these drawings, so I'm going to share that one with you, as this one still needs to be layered and worked on, and I don't know if I'm going to get to that today. So you'll see an example of what this looks like in the web page, on the landing page of the web of the challenge, and then that can also act as inspiration for you. But of course you can work and create whatever you want to create. And if another part of this aspect of letting go of blocks or working and acknowledging blocks come in for you, you can add that in a visual form as well. But something really important that I want to say, and the Fear and Desire map also gives us this teaching, is that integration or transcendence for me means that all of me is acknowledged and welcomed in this space right now. So if you notice a block that you feel really frustrated about, don't use this tool of getting to know your blocks and your limiting beliefs as a way of punishing or criticizing yourself. Okay, our art practice can by no means become another form of torment and torture we apply to ourselves. We are constantly torturing ourselves by having to switch off our creative innocent, our creative child in our daily lives. So now if you start noticing and recognizing a patterning, if you become critical or judgmental around that patterning, you are solidifying that patterning. You need to open yourself up and compassionately look at this aspect of yourself and say, and this, like the desire map. I am feeling fearful, but I also have a desire. I am this, but I'm also that. And this gives us freedom, right? So another aspect of blocks are that long ago when we formed these blocks, the block around responsibility and letting go of being a professional artist for the sake of responsibility, we formed them as a survival mechanism. So maybe someone long ago that you looked up to said something that hurt you, and you didn't have a space where you felt safe or held enough to feel that feeling that you were feeling around fear or anger or hurt to the completion. You created a strategy that pushes aside a part of you in order to survive, in order to feel safe. So you might have pushed your inner artist aside because long ago it was more safe to not be creative than to be creative. So the part of you that have created this limiting belief, created it out of the intention to keep you alive, to keep you an active and not healthy, but an active maybe numbed human in the world. So you can say thank you to your fears. When that voice comes up to you and you're drawing and you're like, the fear of not being good enough comes up, you say, thank you, fear of not being good enough. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep me safe against being embarrassed or being called out in front of other people or being made an example of what not to be. Thank you. I acknowledge that you're trying to keep me safe, but I don't need you right now because I am safe in my creative space. I've created this space. I'm holding myself. I'm holding my inner artist in this space. I'm safe here. So thank you for the work you're trying to do, but it's not necessary. And then you carry on. Okay? So with compassion, with kindness, with patience, we start to engage today with our blocks. I wish you the best of luck with this. It's a beautiful practice when you start noticing your patterns and you start to feel empowered to transcend them, and you know why they were created, and you can feel gratitude for the role they played in your life until thus far, and then you have the freedom to let go. Stay inspired.